It's so easy to create a theme until that theme goes away. Everyone, welcome to Narene's Life with MS. This is Narene, and it's time for Mindful Monday. And yes, I know it's late. I'm trying to do it early. I'm trying to do the videos a little earlier in the evenings, but you know, I tend to not have the time at that point in time. Um, but I will definitely try to get Tuesday's video out today, which is Tuesday. But for now, let's begin Mindful Monday. And um, I think we can continue with this idea of being mindful when you are sick, meditating when you are sick. Because, when we think about being mindful, of course, we're talking about, here and now, where we're mindful right now. And your here and now is pretty much sick, right? Here, wherever I am, everything hurts. Now, whatever is happening, my nose is plugged up, my throat is, I'm not able to make a sound. Um, Something or the other is happening. So, how is it possible? Do you to find yourself being mindful, being a little introspective when you are sort of sick, right? When you have something coming out of your nose, um, when your throat is probably very itchy, you have a persistent cough, you have any form of discomfort, right? Which comes with being sick at any point in time. And I have also had times where I have asked myself the same question: how do I um, keep myself mindful? How do I meditate? So I'd say the easiest thing to do is, considering that it is probably one of the most difficult things, considering that it is, yeah, one of the most difficult things to do, um, to meditate, right, is to find times where, those things are probably not impacting you as much, right? This might be about 10 minutes after you've had your medication, 10 minutes after you've put in the drops in, any point in time when you're feeling a little more relaxed and actually feel like, okay, I've got a little sense of relief, a sense of calmness over me, right? I mean, even when we think about you know um, all of these ads, about different medications, right? The medication, is applied, or the person has the medication and then they feel a sense of relief. I think it is that moment of relief that we also have to capture ourselves and say that this is going to be my point of um, mindfulness. That whenever I'm feeling this way, or whenever I'm feeling you know not up to my best, the one thing I can definitely do is think about when I was feeling this way, or better than feeling this way, return back to that specific moment and actually meditate on it. And the reason I say that, that is probably the best point to maybe have your first meditation and then just capture that moment, so that you have that ability to think about it, to visualize yourself in it, so that you can maybe in the future even go back to it, especially when, say you're not sick. It's going to be a different feeling, because there might be other circumstances why you're not able to uh, meditate or be mindful at that point in time. So there are definitely ways to be mindful while you're under the weather. Definitely ways to meditate when you're under the weather, and this is especially important given the you know s- uh, given the circumstances that you can fall sick whenever, and sickness in any way should not really be sort of a hurdle to you achieving mindfulness at any point in time, even though yes, it is definitely a lot more difficult. It is at certain points impossible. There have been instances you know where being mindful is the last thing because something's hurting too much. um, your nose is completely blocked and all you can do is really breathe through your mouth. You're not able to think clearly because you've got just the worst headache imaginable. And yes, those are probably the wrong times and the wrong cases to be mindful in. But just know that you know all of those phases that you're going through are hopefully temporary. Hopefully they are going to resolve themselves, and definitely uh, you know understand that it is when that resolution happens, when you have that little time of relief, that little time to breathe in deeply and not worry about something, that is when you can actually go into that moment of mindfulness. So I do have an experience. Now granted, I probably wasn't mindful at that point in time. I'm so sorry, I have to clean up some gel on my ankle. um, Yeah, one time I remember where I was just under almost a never-ending pain. Was I think around 2019 when one of my ears had a very bad infection, and it had gotten to the point where I could feel my eardrum pulsing against the outside. And and I think the pain just was there pretty much 24 hours a day. And it would generally tend to increase over night time when I was trying to sleep, so I was really not getting any sleep. But it just so happened that one night where the pain was almost at its peak, like I actually thought that I was about to cry out screaming, my eardrum ruptured. And and it released a lot of goo onto the pillow. And considering I was somewhere else, I was at a hotel, and I definitely most likely ruined a pillowcase in that. It was white too. um, you know my eardrum ruptured, a lot of goo came out, probably a lot of pus earwax, blood, the whole host of things. Um, but in that moment of, that eardrum just rupturing, had a wave of relief that accompanied it that put me to probably the best sleep of my life. And I think, when I describe moments of relief where you can get into that state of mindfulness, I usually refer to, that exact feeling, because this was maybe 3 or 4 days of non-stop pain in my ear. And if anyone has had an ear infection knows that, the, it almost feels like you're trapped. You don't know what to, do, essentially. So um, you are, uh, you're pretty much lost, and you know experiencing all of this pain without knowing if there is a conclusion to it or not. And then suddenly that conclusion happens, that conclusion hits, and it is, um, I'd almost use the word beautiful, you know regardless of the fact that, there is definitely a lot of stuff that is happening on your side. So but the one thing that I will say is that, thinking about that one moment of relief where, you know where honestly the only thing that was going on in my mind was pain, and then it just stops almost instantly, was the reason why I realized that, okay, that is a moment I can remember and latch on to as that idea of mindfulness, especially when I'm sick, especially when I'm, down with something. So hopefully you've had experiences like this. Hopefully you've had experiences where suddenly there has been a switch of, just misery to, you know just being at peace with yourself. And I think once you grasp that idea, grasp that thought, grasp that emotion, it will be a lot easier for you to find mindfulness even while you're sick. So hopefully you have had these experiences, and of course you can share your thoughts, your insights, your experiences, so that we can get a conversation started. But of course, with that said, this is Nariza with MS. I am Naren, and since I really don't have a lot more to say, here's me wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and I'll catch you tomorrow.